Hey friends, before we start today's video, I gotta give a shout out to Jimmy from Transylvanian Recordings, who sent me pretty much every single tape I'm talking about today for this special. Without him, this video would not be possible. So please, go support Transylvanian Recordings, go follow them on their socials, check out their Bandcamp, and please consider supporting the label. Thank you very much for all this, bottom of my heart. I'm just so happy that I get to review all these awesome releases, and the label was so kind just to send it to me. So, again, thank you. Eternal thank yous. Let's get right into today's video. Before we get right into our first band, this is the label special, so we gotta talk about the label first. And today we're talking about Transylvanian Recordings and a bunch of their releases. Their owner, I believe, was generous enough to give me for the channel today. They were formed in 2011 in Oakland, California, and they have been churning out constant death metal releases that are just killer overall, and some of these are new to me, which is even more exciting, and I am excited to be talking about them today. But this label also is not afraid to experiment, as they have been putting out dark wave type projects, which is just super sick. I absolutely love dark wave, and I'm glad this label is not afraid to experiment with that type of stuff. But let us get right into the first band. And the first release we are talking about is CIVEROUS and their debut album, Decrepit Flesh Relic. Formed in 2019. This band released 2 demos and 1 split before in 2020 releasing their compilation, The Expedition of Sickness, which is how I was introduced to the band, and I thought that compilation was just wonderful. But this album right here blew every expectation I had for this new album out of the water. What do you get with this new album? Exactly 35 minutes, you are getting pummeling, melancholic, atmospheric, black and death doom with sprinkles of funeral doom sprinkled all over this record, with some unique twists on this record. This record isn't blistering heavy in the sense that it's fast, but it is blistering heavy in a sense that it is nice and slow at times while having its fast parts. And they even throw in incorporations of violin in 2 of the songs, which just made this album feel unique to me. It is full of atmosphere. The production on this especially is awesome. The guitars are nice and crunchy and loud. The drums sound nice and organic. The bass is mixed just right with the guitar, so it has this boomy sound in the background of the whole album. This album is just fantastic, and I cannot wait to hear more from this band. If you are a fan of Incantation, Burial, and Apparition, you are absolutely going to love this. And here's the very nicely colored tape along with it. Please consider listening to this album. You'll love it. Let's get on to the next band. And the next release we are talking about is Miserable Creature and their second self-titled demo. Miserable Creature was formed in 2020, and they are from Melbourne, Australia, and they have released 2 demos, and like I said, this is the second one. What are you getting with this demo? Miserable Creature plays a very simple and straight to the point old school death metal worship in the vein of Grave and Bolt Thrower. Just shy of 14 minutes. This demo is simple, short, and straight to the point. You know what you're getting when you listen to this. The production on here is demo quality as you'd expect, but I'm also really digging the drum sound on this. The drums are probably the best sounding part about this demo. The vocals are nice and nasty. The drums are pummeling. The guitars are nice and crunchy. The bass is nice and thumpy. You know what you're getting when you listen to this. Simple, straight to the point, like I said. And here is the nice slime green cassette that this came with. I'm actually really digging the colors on this with the white. It looks really nice. Let's get to our next artist. And next we got Vile Apparition from Melbourne, Australia, formed in 2017. This is their debut demo, Atrocious Captivity. They released 2 splits and a debut album after this demo, which I cannot wait to talk about that on the channel at some point as well. What do you get with this demo? You'd think from the artwork this is more straight to the point death metal, but this is not. This is some groovy, technical death metal in the vein of bands like Autopsy, Deeds of Flesh, and Cryptopsy. Just shy of 15 minutes. This album is blistering heavy through and through. The production on this demo is probably the best demo production I've heard in a while. This thing sounds like full-length quality right here. The guitars sound awesome as hell. The drums as well are also the best sounding part of this record. A lot of these bands have just been nailing in their drum sounds lately. They sound awesome, and the vocals are just as you'd expect, brutal. My only complaint, you know, my little nitpick, the bass is not the most audible in this, but I'm just nitpicking like usual. It does not affect the quality of this release in any way, in my opinion. As well as, here's the nice black on black cassette that it comes with, which is nice and dope. Here is the insert with the track title and the band in it. Alright, let's keep this chugging along. And here we have MUTATE from the Bay Area in their debut release. Mutated deformations with this awesome Dead Space inspired artwork almost. And if you know me, I am a huge Dead Space fanboy. Finding information on this release was really hard. I couldn't even find anything on Transylvanian Recordings or the Metal Archive, so just bear with me here. These guys were formed in 2021, as far as I understand, and I don't even think this is out yet, just a single. But I digress. What do you get with this debut EP? Just shy of about 13 minutes, I believe. It was really hard to even find how long this thing was, so when I listened to it, I gauged that it was about 13 minutes. Another straight-to-the-point death metal band in the vein of Deicide and Morbid Angel. Couldn't get any more straightforward than that. And this just sounds great for a first release. As far as I know, this is a homebrew release, and whoever mixed this did a great job. And let me tell you about the mix on this. Unlike David Ellefson's bass tracks on the new Megadeth album, this is bassy. It is extremely bassy, and it sounds old school as hell. The guitars sound great, the vocals are nice and brutal, and the drums sound great. And if you know me, extremely bassy albums I fall in love with immediately, and this is just great. I cannot wait to see what these guys do with a full-length album, because I think they're gonna kill it. Alright. And before we move on, here's the nice purple cassette that it came with. I'm really digging the purple with the type of red. It looks sick. Next up, we got our first split. Greased Then Released with Texas Metalhead KOMBAT and Kentucky Meddlers Torture Tomb. Just shy of 14 minutes. KOMBATs, they're the first guys that play. The first 2 songs are a nice blend of pure old school death metal worship with tinges of hardcore thrown about these 2 songs. These guys went for a more raw sound compared to their previous releases. From what I'm hearing, the drums and the guitar sound great. Bass, as far as I heard, wasn't the most audible, which is alright. I'm always going to mention it, but again, and I'll always say it, it never determines the quality of the band. These guys play very solid, and this sounds great. And on to Torture Tomb side, I say Torture Tomb had the best production sound out of the whole split. This one sounds more like full-length quality, if you ask me, but these guys also play blackened death metal beatdown which sounds really good, heavy as shit. And it makes sense considering the guitar player for this band is in Knocked Loose. So he probably threw in some Knocked Loose elements into it, I'd say. But overall, this is a very solid split with two really great bands. Here's the nice mustard yellow shell, which looks great because both the logos are yellow. Alright, let's keep going. And the next release we got is Iron Front and their new EP, Flayed Alive. Iron Front is from the Bay Area, California, formed in 2019, but from 2018 they went under a different name, but I cannot remember that name. And they released 2 singles under Iron Front. So what does Iron Front have to offer? These guys play a sludgy, straight to the point death metal with nice hints of progressiveness and thrash metal neatly sprinkled on this release. This is what you'd expect, very fast, heavy death metal, and the progressiveness you can see in this EP is great. It's nicely incorporated along with the thrash in it. The production on this also sounds great for a very first release. The guitar, everything just mixes nicely. The guitars, the bass, the drums, the vocals, nothing tries to overpower anything, and it sounds really good. I'm really looking forward to see what these guys can do with a full-length album. This is also pressed on a gold shell. If you are a fan of bands like Time Ghoul and 200 Stab Wounds, you're definitely going to dig this. And up next, we got GRAVEOLENCE in their debut EP, Anthropomancy. These guys were formed in 2014 and are from Vancouver, Canada. These guys released a single, 1 demo, and 1 split, I believe, before 2021, releasing this bad boy. What does GRAVEOLENCE have to offer? GRAVEOLENCE plays a absolutely chaotic mix of blackened death metal with a extremely heavy sprinkle of grind thrown into this. This album is absolutely chaotic. The drums are blasting from beginning to end. This album goes 110% until the very end of this 20-minute EP. I absolutely was blown away by how good this was, as I've never heard of these guys before. The production on here also sounds awesome. This is full-length quality right here. The drums sound amazing. The guitars are nice and loud. The bass is mixed in just right as well, where it really contrasts really well with the guitars. And there is dual vocals on here, and both of them sound like absolute monsters. If you are a fan of Our Place in Worship is Silence and Dragged in the Sunlight, this will be right up your alley. And this whole thing is black. The whole cassette is black. And the shell itself is black. And great album. Check it out. And we're down to our final 2 releases. And second to last, we have CAFFA and their compilation release, Day of Disease and Mental Enslavement. This band was formed in 2009, but only started releasing things as of last year, as far as I believe, and this compilation is a mixture of their first demo and their first EP. So what do you get with CAFFA? These guys play a very nasty blend of pure old school death doom. And one thing that I did not see in any of the links, any of the band camps or anything, is how punky this thing is. Especially the first half. This thing is full of punky riffs that mix extremely well with the death doom style they're going, and it just makes it sound extremely catchy, and a lot of the riffs on here are extremely memorable. Here's some of the insert, and there is lots of awesome illustrations in here. The artist who did this absolutely killed it. The production on here especially is pretty damn good. Everything mixes well, like the last few releases. The bass is nice and loud in here. The drums sound great. The vocals are absolutely killer. And the guitars sound nice and crunchy, and this just sounds awesome overall. This also has Jimmy, the owner of Transylvanian Recordings, on here, which I just discovered doing research on this, which is awesome. And he's in a bunch of other super killer bands, which I will be talking about on the channel here. But if you are a fan of bands like Cryptic Brood, Autopsy, and Coffins, this will be right up your alley. And this is pressed on a red shell cassette, which looks real nice. Alright, let's get to our final release. And last, but certainly not least, we are talking about MORDOM. And a fun fact about this band, this was one of the first bands, this is one of the first cassettes I bought when I was considering starting my YouTube channel. So this band right here holds a special place in my heart for the channel. These guys were formed in 2018 from San Diego, California. This is their debut album, Eternal Solitude. About 35 minutes, I believe. These guys play a very depressing, atmospheric blend of black and death doom with a healthy sprinkle of funeral doom. And what you're getting here is leaking with atmosphere. You can really feel the disparity in every note played on this album. This is an experience, if you ask me, because you never know when it's just gonna build up with how heavy it gets, and then it'll just come to a grinding halt and slow back down again, and it really just adds to this record. The black metal influences, you will hear them in the guitar work when they into the much slower sections, and it just makes this album sound extremely atmospheric. And the drums are extremely slow, but get extremely fast and heavy when they need to as well. The bass on this album is almost louder than the guitars, which creates even more atmosphere, if you ask me. The production on this sounds absolutely insane. It sounds great. The guitars sound like they're suffering. The bass sounds like they're suffering. The vocalist sounds like he's suffering. This whole record is just miserable in the best possible way. And it is printed on this very nice mustard yellow cassette. If you are a fan of bands like Anatomia and Bellwitch, this will definitely be right up your alley. And today, that is it. I had so much fun filming this video today. So many new bands I got to check out. And I also want to shout out Jimmy one more time before I end this video. Without him, this video would not have been possible. Thank you very much. All bands and label links will be in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, support underground death metal.